he starts to like choke him, and then they fight in the rain, and then the assassin puts his hand out to about to stab or kind of get close to where he could stab Jack or Matt, and Matt kind of bends over and punches him right in the gut. Um, and then he swings it, and then he swings it, and then they fight, and it's kind of starts to speed back up. He breaks his arm, and he the he Jack or not Jack Matt breaks the assailant's arm, and then the assailant tries to get up and goes crawls back up to kind of finish the fight, and then sound of a ting 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 ting, and he basically takes the knife or the takes the chain and wraps the chain or attacks the assailant and wraps the chain around the assailant's throat. And well, after knocking him out with his head, after knocking him out with a headbutt, he wraps it around his throat and punches him in the stomach, punches him about a couple times in the stomach and in the face, and does a final kick, like a side kick to it, and is knocked out in the rain, but he ends up getting back up. And then we see Karen come out and see kind of what basically just happened. And basically kind of sees the fight, and Daredevil finds the piece of paper, not the piece of paper, finds the thumb drive, and Karen's like, you can't tell anybody about what we've done, what's going on, and he says, well, we'll just tell everybody. So they throw the guy that tried to kill Karen onto the steps of the newspaper. I think it's the newspaper, the New York Bulletin, and then they print the story on the Union Allied pension plan, and then we start back to a limo where Wesley is talking to Kingpin about should we be worried about the lawyers, and should we be worried about Karen Page, and
evidence will put Rance at the murder scene.
One of the guys talked to the authorities named McClintock, and that's what Kingpin wants, and Wesley suggests that they use pills that he uses to overdose and kind of use the story that he overdosed in less than an hour.
The remaining concern,
and he's more concerned about he's more concerned about the professional assassin that they had try to kill Karen, and how was he subdued. And we know that Wesley is going to look into it, and then they're also kind of concerned about Karen as well,
did I make the appropriate
and how they should,
everything she knows is already in the papers.
How basically they shouldn't really worry about Karen because Karen has everything that she knows is already in the papers. And then
Nelson and Murdock.
That Kingpin is more concerned with her lawyers, Daredevil, aka Murdock and Nelson and Murdock.
Ambulance chasers.
and but he's concerned about them. But Wesley is pretty much like saying they're ambulance chasers. They're clean. You don't really have to worry about them that much.
Start a file and make it of use.
Understood.
And that there's then basically we get to where Karen is, or he says start a file, or Kingpin wants to kind of put tabs on Nelson and Murdock, and um, Karen is kind of now kind of a secretary to Matt and Foggy. Is now part of their law firm, and they're about to eat dinner or eat like lunch or so, or eat a meal, and then uh, Karen basically says, Foggy's like, you should be thanking the nut in the mask, and Karen's like, he's not a nut, and we kind of get that kind of glimpse of, he kind of Matt seems a little bit kind of has very much like a we're just glad you're okay, and that they kind of sit down and kind of have a meal, and then we get to figure out what they kind of start to talk and have dinner or lunch or whatever. They have the meal, and Karen kind of says, I owe you one. Why don't you hire me as a secretary? And they say they're fine with that. And then, but we get kind of a we have a where it's Matt goes to the gym to basically hit the bag a little bit, and we get a montage of basically what's happening with the crime lord syndicate. He tells and as he's punching and doing his like getting fit for the fighting, we see a lot of 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 we see a lot of the what the crime lords are doing, like each one of them are doing, such as we see that as he's fighting, we see that they're kind of deleting all the allied Bob Uncker's characters, deleting all the pension funds from where Karen used to work. Then we see one of the guards ended up the one of the guards that Wesley talked to at the beginning of the scene of the or not in the beginning but at the park. They ended up staging his murder / suicide. Then they actually one of the other inmates from the prison hanged himself, or allegedly hanged himself, and then we see Madam Wynn basically do her heroin or marijuana cocaine, marijuana, her drug trafficking, where they've used pretty much acid to blind all the people in the assembly line to cut drugs and stuff. And then I guess is planning to take over Hell's Kitchen.